actually, as criminal lawyers, when we talk about minorities, especially ethnic minorities, just minorities, we think of the women, the disabled, kids, etc. Well, actually, ethnic minorities is a big part of minorities, and they are also very important, especially in 1992, the UN has talked about the importance of ethnicity, and also we need to protect the right of ethnic minorities who are language minorities, cultural minorities, etc. In China, it is also part of our responsibility to protect the basic right of minorities in China. Because of the time constraint, I will just give you a brief introduction of the overview of minorities participated in the criminal justice system. First of all, let's look at the system background. One important information is the two minorities and one leniency. Now, this is a summary of the system background in China. Back in 1984, the central government actually launched a particular document that, if I can summarize, the document, it's about leniency, having more leniency towards ethnic minorities, and trying to reduce penalty or criminal penalty towards ethnic minorities. Now, that principle may sound very simplistic, but it actually has affected a lot of the judicial judges and verdicts for a lot of ethnic minorities cases for the past years. And also, we have another law that's related to different ethnic regions, regional ethnic autonomy. So that law also has played a role in affecting the criminal justice equity towards ethnic minorities. Now, first of all, let's look at the 99 article of the criminal law. It stated that if there are situations that are not included in the criminal law, the related parties should refer to local practices or local regulations in order to reach a fair judge or judgment to treat ethnic minorities better. Now, China actually comprises of 56 ethnic groups, and different ethnic groups have different socioeconomic status, and different ethnicities have different religious beliefs, etc., and different cultural backgrounds. And that is why we have included this diversity. We have, included this kind of consideration in the criminal law. And some scholars actually emphasize that we need to actually write down more specifics in terms of protecting the rights of ethnic minorities and also make them a law. However, in reality, so far in China, we actually don't have any specific updates or new laws and regulations in regards to regional ethnic autonomy. And that actually there have been a lot of conflicts that has no legal references to handle. I'm going to talk more later. We have in Article 249 from the criminal law. We have a article that's related to racist, and also in 250 and 251. We also have different articles that talked about how we shouldn't invade or how we shouldn't harm the cultural and also religious beliefs of ethnic minorities or different ethnicities in general. In order to protect the right of ethnic minorities here in China. So we definitely actually have some criminal law or legal references to protect ethnic minorities' rights in several aspects. Also, in terms of the criminal law proceedings, it is also regulated that all nationals in China have the right to follow the criminal law proceedings in language that they understand fully, that they can use. So in multilingual areas, the trial should be conducted, including the investigation and also the prosecution, and everything involved in the criminal law proceedings should be conducted in the language that the ethnic minority individual understands. So this is actually quite specific in terms of protecting the language use rights and ensuring the understanding for the individual that are of ethnic minority. Now, there has been, as I mentioned, different kinds of conflicts, and because we have different habits among different ethnicities, let me just give you two examples. The first one is selling fake drugs. In China, you have to get approval from the regulators in order to sell a particular drug. This particular case happened in Qinghai, a region where there's ethnic minorities. A is an owner of an pharma company, and the other is an individual. They actually prescribed this particular drug, that the drug in particular, that we talked about does not have the approval or the license to be sold in China, but they keep selling it. And actually, because the case happened in ethnic minorities region, and this area actually has a lot of Tibetan residents, and a lot of the drugs actually are have very deep history of use by the Tibetans. So that's why they take into consideration this kind of cultural habits, and that is why they actually does not hold this individual as criminal or has legal liabilities from this case. So you can actually see that the judge here really plays a lot of importance or attach a lot of importance to local habit of using a particular medicine, and also because of different educational backgrounds, and the behaviors out of this educational and also cultural backgrounds. So that is why, even though legally speaking, penalty, legal consequence should be borne by the individual. However, the judge still use a lot of leniency in reaching the final verdict. So again, a lot of cultural factors need to be taken into consideration in dealing with these kind of cases that involve ethnic minorities. Now, another case is actually take place in a small county in Yunnan. So a person actually purchased raw materials of steel, and he hired someone to actually make a gun out of it for hunting purposes. And he just placed the gun at home. And local police, when they're visiting this particular family, saw the gun and arrested this individual. In China, it is illegal to hold guns. However,
但是缓刑2年
in the end, this individual was held legally responsible for this, and he had to stay behind bars for a year. And there was also leniency attached to this final verdict or the sentence. And because locally speaking, in that particular area or county, actually it's very common for people to hunt using their own guns. And there was really, this particular individual wasn't trying to harm anybody else. So again, the judge also took into consideration local habits of the ethnic minority. So again, we as lawyers, how should we actually balance the legal system, the criminal law system, and ethnic minorities' cultural backgrounds? It is something that we need to debate and also think upon. There are also some other very common cases. For example, in some regions, there are so-called, if I translate this literally, it's called marriage robbery. It sounds very confusing. So basically, one person can actually get the bribe of someone else to be his bribe. It's similar. It's a similar concept to that. It's in some region, ethnic minority region, it is allowed and common. Obviously, it's not common in other regions. So in practice, as defendant lawyer, we or criminal or any kind of stakeholder or participant in the process, we have to take into consideration these kind of factors. First of all, when we get involved into a case, typically they are long proceedings in terms of the procedure. When ethnic minority is involved, it's going to be more time consuming for the first reason that, first of all, translation might be involved, and I meant interpretation. That means that the time will take longer. And also, if the case is trialed in, for example, Han area, then the interrogation or the investigation might be conducted in a manner that are not comfortable for or not common for the suspect. And a lot of the questions asked by the interrogator is yes or no question. And that is something that we can argue with. But for complicated situations, this kind of question can be misleading. So for that situation, we need to be patient and we need to learn more in order to help our clients better. In addition to that, we also need to take into consideration the interpreter's role, because during the trial proceeding, normally translation wouldn't be a problem. But when we enter a particular debate, for example, the prosecutor, if they, for example, if the prosecutors speak the local language, whereas the defendant has to speak another language, which means that these two do not share the same language, there will be, it would be necessary for the interpreter to get involved, and there would be misunderstandings. So as the defendant lawyer, we need to make sure that we advocate for a fair understanding, full understanding of the idea for our ethnic minority individuals. And also, we need to look at the quality of the interpretation as well. Right now, we actually don't have any kind of qualification exams for interpreters who are of ethnic minorities, who are doing ethnic minority language and Chinese interpretation. So that's why we need to really seek help from trustworthy and reliable interpreters. All right, that is my part, which is an overview of the ethnic minority situation here in China. I hope it's been helpful. Thank you.